package today from that website that you told us about, Rich, that was having the Famicom and Super Famicom games for sale.
Yeah, I have an interesting story about
I'm still
that.
waiting on mine.
Oh.
So
Well,
tell us about your package, Sean.
Mine came today, and everything was intact and looked great. I got what I hope is a bunch of good stuff. I got Dragon Quest IV and Slapstick and Torneco's Dungeon, and I got what is it? Frontier Saga 1 and 2, both complete in box.
Awesome. And they were all $3 a piece, right?
Yeah, all $3 a piece. Now, the shipping did kill me. The shipping was basically as much as the order itself was, so figure $6 a piece, basically. But I think still worth it.
Yeah, I think you still got a good deal on that. I think the site wasn't it like Retro Japan or something? I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I hate that I can't plug the site.
I think it was. Job. Wasn't it Retro Gamer Japan?
Could be. I know that Duke from Collector Cast sent us a text, and so I passed it on to you guys because I know a lot of us have really been into Super Famicom collecting lately. It seems the four of us. Steven's not on this call, but the four of us have really been into it. So.
Yeah, and it is retrogamerjapan.com.
Okay, cool. Yeah, check it out.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend them at this point. I'm happy with what I got.
Cool. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, you never know what condition you're going to get in. But after I ordered, I got an email. After I ordered, I sent you guys a message so that you guys could order off the site. And I got an email saying that I guess it was the next day in the morning that Bahamut Lagoon was out of stock and that they couldn't send it to me. Did you get a similar email, Floyd?
I didn't get anything like
bastard.
that.
If you get that game, I'm going to be so pissed.
I'm kind of hoping I got the last one now.
So you guys ordered it at the same time or what?
I know I ordered mine before he ordered his because I ordered my stuff and then I sent you guys the message.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't matter. I'll find one. I'm just teasing Floyd. I just want to make him feel bad. Nothing on his part.
Lagoon is not too hard to come by.
No, and it's not a very expensive game. So I just like to tease him. But I did end up getting, I think, one Famicom game because, as you know, my Famicom collection is probably close to 200, if not more now. And so I'm just sort of collecting the games that are decent that didn't make it over here. So and a few games, Japanese games that I like, on the Nintendo. I'll grab a few every once in a while, so that's cool. What did you end up getting from them, Floyd?
I ordered Bahamut Lagoon, probably the last one in stock, and Treasure Hunter G, which is another RPG that didn't make it out here.
Oh, that's nice, actually. That's one I don't have yet. That would have been a good grab.
Yeah, it's got an interesting sort of battle system where you kind of move your guys. It's almost grid based, but it's like a hybrid of grid based and like live live action RPG, I guess you'd say.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then Wonder Project J, which is sort of like a point and click. I don't know, point and click adventure game. You play this. Oh, somebody's playing Pokemon Go.
No, I'm trying to. The servers have been down all day. But anyway, foreshadowing.
Yeah.
But Wonder Project J had a really cool premise, Floyd. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So you play as a robot, or you guide this robot, and this robot is like an android that's supposed to blend in with the human population. So it's the robot has to learn emotions and like social norms and whatnot, and the game covers things like basically like a lot of social stigmas, ostracization and exclusion, inclusion, stuff like that. So it's probably going to be one big metaphor of just socially accepting one another and loving one another.
I hear the working title for this game was Detroit Zero.
Probably. This probably was David Cage's prototype of Detroit Become Human.
Oh, that's awesome. I can't remember the name of the game I got. It's some little like robot platformer. Just can't think of the name of it. It's, just odd, very odd niche name. But I did have some luck today at the thrift stores. Went to the thrift stores today and picked up, I don't know, do you guys remember these like Speak and Spell, Speak and Math, Speak and Read little units that Texas Instruments put out?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember them, but I know of them.
Yeah, I picked up a Speak and Read for $1 today, and it actually works. So it's pretty crazy.
Nice.
But and then I went to another thrift store, and somebody had unloaded, oddly, a ton of PlayStation 2, and original Xbox demo discs, like from official PlayStation magazine. And there were a bunch of them, but they were selling them for like $3 a piece. They were all sealed in the little like nice packs and everything. Someone had, I guess, had just collected these and was getting rid of them. I only grabbed one, which is a shame, because if they were like $1 a piece, I would have, grabbed them and definitely, shared the goodness. But I just didn't know like if I could get my money back on these, and they had so many that $3 a piece was a little much. But I did grab June 2001 for official U.S. PlayStation magazine, and it has a demo of Klonoa on it.
Great game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That must be cool.
Yeah, and so I'm really excited about that, just because it's a game that's sort of been on my radar, but it's one I've never played, and so I want to, this at least will give me a chance to try it out before that, so I was excited. And I picked up and put down the demos for Medieval and Medieval 2. They weren't like specifically for Medieval and for Medieval 2. They had other games on them as well. Unlike like the Shadow of the Colossus demo I have, that's the single demo. But it was still pretty cool, and I'm very fond of that game. So I picked them up and put them down. But just didn't want to put the money into it. But
demos are really cool. I think they
like 'em,
hold a special place in a lot of gamers' hearts for the fact that when you were younger, sometimes you would have gotten a system for Christmas or your birthday or whatever, that you got one game with it, but it also came with a demo disc. Like the demo disc that I got that came with my PlayStation 1, I played, it had Metal Gear Solid on it, which was really cool, a demo for Metal Gear Solid.
I saw a few of those today.
All with the Japanese voice acting. Like, I guess it was so early they didn't have the English voice acting on it yet.
very cool.
And I must have played through that thing, hundreds of times just because of how amazing it was at the time.
Yeah, and that was the cool thing too about, with the disc era, from going from the cartridge to the disc era, was that magazines could now could put these discs inside these magazines, inside these cellophane wrappers around the magazines, and they could actually
so cheap
send demo disc, and what a great marketing tool for the time.
And there's a lot of them. I can't name one off the top of my head, but there's demo discs that have demos for games that never got released, that or games that never even came close to release. Some demo discs have like secret unlockables,
Wow.
like it's kind of fascinating.
I might have to look into that and make a stop by tomorrow, after work, because it's on the way home.
I would definitely do like some kind of Google search. I know there's people who are way more into this than I even am, but it's fascinating what got put on demo discs back then. You know, very cool stuff.
Yeah, and at $3 a pop, and they had so many, I just didn't, I'm not worried about like, I'm not trying to make money, but if I could, get my money back and help someone out that actually collects that sort of stuff, that would be, I would be happy to do that, but I figured $1 a piece, and she said, the girl at the counter, this is a game that's what's $3, and she acted like she couldn't believe it was $3. So what I might do is just maybe go grab them, and I'm like, look, I'll buy all these for $1 a piece or 50 cents a piece. These aren't really games; these are demo discs. They don't have full games on them, and so maybe they can work something out with me. Who knows? So
That's a good point. Try that, because they, like, a lot of these thrift stores just say, like, you know, if it's a game or if it's a DVD, it's a flat price of like $3, $5, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't matter what it is. It's, you know, it's a game. It's $5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the Goodwill that I got the Speak and Read at, I actually got a copy of Sonic Adventure on Dreamcast for $1.50. It's does not have the booklet in the front, shame, but it does have the back insert in the disc. Looks pretty decent. So, not a big Sonic fan, but I may pass that along to someone who may want it, or maybe it can help complete their set. You know, so
Nice.
little trade bait maybe as well. So. So this is officially our second sidecast. I'm sort of surprised that we've decided to do this so soon after our E3. We were really tickled, you know, and excited to do our E3 sidecast, and something actually from that E3 sidecast that we actually discussed, and you know, maybe we could put a clip of that in here at some point.
Oh, that would be interesting.
But I'd be interested to compare like our thoughts on it now and like what we talked about in our E3 podcast.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And how we feel about that. So, but do you guys remember what your well, I guess I should state first that this is a Pokemon Go sidecast, and the three of us, Sean and myself. Adopting it much earlier than Floyd. I think you've been playing it for a few days, right?
Yeah, it officially launched in Canada on Sunday, so you guys had about, I think, a 10 or 12 day head start on me.
Yeah. Well, no wonder it's screwed up now. I mean, leave it to you Canadians to screw everything up that we love in America. So I do you guys remember like what your sort of original thoughts were on the game? Like what you thought about it when we were spoke in the E3 cast? You recall?
I'm going to assume we were like skeptical and cynical about it, thinking, I'm too old for Pokemon. This, you know, this is not going to be for me, and it's a cell phone game, and it's not going to be fun.
Yeah.
But I think we all have. I think we all have to eat our words now.
Not all of us.
Well, Floyd, I think that if I remember correctly, you had some interesting ideas about what could be, what the potential for the game was, and you hit some of them right on the money. So
yeah,
I thought that was kind of interesting.
I mentioned something about the geocaching too, and that
right.
premise.
Didn't I say there'd be like tours or like travel?
Yeah.
Travel things on it.
Yeah.
But Sean, you said there was already like meetups and clubs and stuff for this.
Oh yeah, here in Austin, I'm part of 2 Facebook groups for Pokemon Go in Austin, and there's always people offering to drive other people around, people who want to do meetups. Some people want to meet only members of their own team, which is kind of funny and awesome. Like Team Mystic meetup, it's very funny, but. And I see like, walking tours, because there's a lot of what are called nests, and probably getting way ahead of ourselves here. But yeah, to put it simply, a lot of the things that you were talking about, Floyd, actually have come to fruition. And I remember my reaction was just like, I didn't see the trailer, and the first I heard of this was on the air with you guys, so I had almost no opinion. Like, it could be neat, like an AR cell phone game with Pokemon. That could be fun. Yeah,
I remember, and just my stance on it was, I mean, I was actually excited about this. I remember being a little excited about this, which is strange because I don't like Pokemon at all. I've never been a fan. I'm kind of aged out of it. My brother, who's 12 years younger than me, was obsessed with it as a kid. And to me, it just seemed like, oh, he's a kid. He's obsessed with it. I was in college when it came out. I was a senior in college, actually. And I was just like, just moving on. I'm not going to... well, I guess I was a senior when the card game kind of came out or was really big. And just never had an interest in it. But with the Pokemon Go, I like the whole idea, the premise of it to, walk around and sort of collect. And I'm a collector at heart. I have the collecting nature. big reason I'm a part of RF Generation, I guess. And so that really appealed to me, and sort of the exercise aspect of it as well, and moving around and getting outside. So I was excited about the time, and learned that the app was free one day. I think Bill had mentioned it, and downloaded it, and just from there, playing a ton of it, playing it every day.
Yeah, totally. I think it took me a day. I actually didn't realize that when we did the E3 Sidecast also that the release of this game was so imminent. Like I thought it was some far off thing. Sure. I didn't realize that I would be obsessed with it, 2 weeks later. But yeah, a coworker of mine was playing it, and he just showed me his screen with the map, and I was like, oh, that's the real world map. Like that's our office right there. Like, oh, okay. Now I'm starting to see it come together, and I downloaded it right then and there, and he just walked me through like the basic mechanics, and I haven't put it down since, unless I'm forced to by the server issues, which we'll get to.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. So what kind of history, I kind of briefly explained my history with the Pokemon franchise. What type of history do you guys have with it?
You can go ahead, Floyd, because I know you.
Okay. Yeah, I guess because I do have a history with Pokemon, because I was the right age when the show came out. You're my brother's age. And the card game. So yeah, right. So, I watched the show. Now regrettably made my parents buy me the cards. I don't know what I was thinking back then, but I think I had blue first, and then I got yellow. Okay. Just because I had to have Pikachu walking behind me, and then there was one for the Game Boy Color. I can't remember which one that was.
There's silver and the gold, right?
Right. Well, I think I got silver, just because I think it was a new area and new Pokemon. So
and Crystal was on there too, right?
Right. Yeah, no, that's right. I didn't have Crystal, though, and I dropped off after the Game Boy Color era, and I really stopped caring about it. Mm-hmm. So, I surprised myself to be actually interested in this, and, I'm looking up, like, because, I'm so late to the party on this, have to go online and look up, okay, got an egg. What do I do with this,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess in typical Pokemon fashion, there's like no explanation of anything. Mm-hmm. Like you fire it up and you create your character, and then there's just a really basic rundown of, you got to walk around in the real world, and this is how you catch Pokemon. That thing over there is a gym. Mm-hmm. Once you get to level 5, you can train and fight in the gym. Yeah. But really, they give you your starter Pokemon, and say off you go. It's a cool way to mimic the like in-game thing in real life.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what they're going for.
Right. You're a Pokemon trainer, and that's what you're doing. You're running around catching Pokemon like you would, in the game, or as they do on the cartoon, and that's what people have really always wanted, and they've done a nice job with it. And you mentioned that they don't really give you instruction, but the game's really not complex. There's not a lot as far to do, with the menus.
No, it's really basic.
Very basic, very few items. It becomes pretty easy to figure out. If you click on a gym before you're level 5, it's going to tell you, oh, you can't go there until you're level 5. Right. So,
but I think the learning curve comes from like the items. Mm-hmm. Like you click on an item and you don't know what it does.
It gives you a brief description of it too. Yeah. But yeah, some of them you don't really know when to use them or how to use them at first. But it's kind of a learning experience, and that helps. I think that kind of helps with the social aspect of the game, like talking to other people. Oh, well, what do I do? How do I do this? And that may be where we sort of go next with this conversation. Oh, we actually need to get Sean's history a little bit with the Pokemon first. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great. I wanted to jump in here because I actually don't have a history with Pokemon. It was just just slightly the wrong generation for me. I was a Game Boy kid growing up, but I just missed it. It was kind of like I was a Ninja Turtles kid and not a Power Rangers kid. So I was whatever, Super Mario and everything that came before Pokemon. And when Pokemon was starting to blow up, I was just a little bit too old for it and never got into it. But I'm actually kind of curious, Rich, maybe you can answer this question yourself, but I'm going to say for myself, I've gotten into the Pokemon like universe because of this game. And I think whereas when I was young, I was just not keyed into like this kind of thing, whatever it is. And now I am into RPGs. I'm into anime. I'm into, cutesy, girly, kiddish kind of stuff in my video games. And now I'm eating it up. I actually started playing Pokemon Black on the DS, and I'm loving it. Like it's a lot of fun. It's colorful. It's just cute. I don't know. And my wife and I are watching Pokemon X and Y, one of the more recent versions of the anime, and we're really loving it. So
cool. I'm
wondering, Rich, have you decided to delve into Pokemon other than the game at this point?
I don't know. I mean, what I've thought, and maybe I'll do. I do love my Game Boy, so I have considered picking up the 3 early titles, Red, Blue, Yellow, for the Game Boy. But other than that, I don't think I'll go any further than that. As I've talked to other people, and Floyd included, and I think you mentioned this, Floyd, a lot of the, you got into it at first, you enjoyed the early games on the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color, but then it became a lot of sort of rinse and repeat type of thing.
That's right.
And I think that's probably improved, with the other generation consoles, having more to do and things like that. But I would be interested in the more retro titles. But I don't think I have any interest in the new stuff. Really no interest in the cartoons. My kids are really getting into it, and that's cool. If they enjoy it, of course, I'm not the kind of father that's gonna be like, oh no, you can't do that, because I don't like that. I'm not big into Harry Potter either, but I bought them the DVD for $1 today. The second one, they've been wanting to see it. So, I definitely support what they want to do. And if I get into the newer games, it would be probably through them, I think. But I would like to sort of revisit these classics at some point, and just kind of check them out. Hopefully when all the hype dies down, because from what I understand from retro stores, you can't find these games, and I'm sure that the price has skyrocketed on these early titles.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. And I think because of this, a lot of people are feeling really nostalgic. Like, I should say a lot of people in that, like, mid-20s to early 30s age group are feeling really nostalgic for Pokemon right now.
Yeah. And it's, that's one thing we should mention, too. This is kind of the perfect time to release this game. You've got people who are older, who, not only have more disposable income now that were kids when this came out, but now you've got that fan base that's coming back to it. We had some discussion on our threads, and, some people saying, well, older people are never going to play this game. People that don't have kids are never going to play this game. I can't speak for people that don't have kids, because I do have kids, but I would have played this even if I didn't have kids. I would have tried this out.
Yeah.
But because I was really hyped up about it after seeing it at E3. I have a security guard at my work who is in his late 50s who plays this game and talks to us about it all the time. Every time I walk in and out of the building, he's talking about it. He came in the break room today to make some coffee, and I could hear the music on his phone because, as I've mentioned before, we have a Pokestop at my work. It is actually a Pokestop, so
that's convenient.
So jealous of that. First of all,
oh man, it's no problem getting Pokeballs, at any time I need them. And then my boss plays. She gets them for her kids, but obviously I can tell by talking to her so much that she's into it. And another one of my coworkers plays, and we talk about it constantly, probably drive the other people who don't play nuts. But we're always like comparing like our Pokédexes and stuff. Oh, I got this one today, and I'll have to admit I might have put up a module at our at the Pokestop at my place of work. A few times.
It's funny. There's a complex across the street from where I work that is gated, so you can't get in without access. And there's a Pokestop in there, and whoever works there, they're always dropping lures, and it's like, oh man, you guys like. But yeah, I totally get like the camaraderie actually, you know, before we talk about that in general, I had an interesting observation about the ages of the people who are playing this game. And I'll just throw it out there that I'm 35 years old and I do not have kids. My wife is a little bit older than I am, and she is not into Pokemon at all before this. And as a matter of fact, I started playing the game a few days before she did. And she was kind of not looking down her nose at me, but kind of, you know, making fun of me. Like, oh, I wonder if there's any Pokemon at the grocery store, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like, okay. So then that day, actually driving home from the grocery store, I was like, here, like, hold my phone. If you see anything pop up on the screen, tap it, and I'll tell you what to do after that. So I got her into like catching him for me while I was driving, and that was the end of the story. She downloaded it right then and there, like, and now we're in a friendly competition together. But
sure,
the one thing that I would just throw out there that I found extremely interesting, I went to an anime convention last weekend, and I was texting you guys like, oh, this is going to be insane. Like, there's Pokestops around the hotel. It's going to be Lure City a day and night. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But actually, I went. It went from Friday to Sunday. Mm-hmm. And I actually took a half day at work on the Friday to go there, and the attendance of the convention was really young. It skewed to like I would say 15 and 16-year-olds, teenagers, and a lot of them were kind of turning their nose up at the game. I heard people talking about it, and some of the younger teenagers wanted nothing to do with it and thought it was stupid, thought it was dangerous. Like, it's funny, like they would say the things that adults would say about video games when I was a kid. You know,
they would say the same thing about Pokemon that I was saying about it when I was in college.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I mean,
exactly.
that's what it is. I mean,
and it's you can see like
life.
where it skips generations. Like the really young teenagers aren't into it. Really young kids are into it. Adults are into it. People in their 20s are into it. Like,
right.
It's very, very fascinating.
Yeah, I would say the demographic from about 16 to 25 is probably the least. Probably the group from what I've seen is, you know, the least playing it. People 25 and over are more into it than the group, you know, like 25 to 16, and then like you said, younger kids, right?
Yeah. No, I think that's right on the money.
Yeah, and I think, and like, you know, like I said, I think that's just a normal reaction. You know, you going into adulthood, you know, and trying to take on more adult responsibility and adult things, and trying to, you know, be more of an adult, going out, you know, drinking and, you know, partying and things like that, meeting significant others, and, you know, that point in your life, you know, you're doing a lot of that, and so, you know, it on a list of importance, you know, it's probably not the highlight of it at that age. But for people that are, you know, a little past that, and, you know, just and sort of having fun with it, and you know, enjoying the, you know, their life and getting out and doing things, it's a lot of fun. So I think, so that's sort of what I think about the demographic who's playing. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts on that.
Yeah, I don't know. What's it like in Canada, Floyd?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of people have you seen out there?
Well, really, I don't know how many people waited for the actual release, but I know, you know, thousands upon thousands must have just, you know, side-loaded it onto their phones, which, you know, may not be the best idea, because apparently those are, you know, super... they're not that they're buggy, but they're like, you know, lots of viruses and whatnot in those versions. But so there are people in Canada who kind of got a head start. But no, because like I guess all the people who did wait were only sort of like 4 days into playing. So I don't know. And being in a really suburban area, that's one thing that I was thinking about the other day when I was just sort of going out for a stroll. Is that like there's not much, like I know randomly a Pokemon will pop up, but there's not much to do, or at least not many places to go within the game in a suburban area. I'm sure, it's great in like a downtown core, or
Right.
where there's a lot of monuments, or where there's a lot of I don't know, not I was going to say banks, but what are they using for gyms? Are they like places of like significance for the city, or?
Well, the one by me is a public park.
Okay.
Yeah.
And crazy enough, it was one that I didn't even realize it was there. It's less than a block away from my house, and it's just there's this nice little park there. I've been living here for months, and I had no idea it was there. So, yeah. So I mean, should we? Because we're getting into some of the things that would be best explained like later on in the conversation.
Sure.
Should we get more into the mechanics of the game, kind of? Because if somebody somehow doesn't know what Pokemon Go is yet, like maybe we should explain
Sure.
the actual game and the app. So it's basically an AR game, which is augmented reality, which means it uses your actual real life environment in many different ways. Actually, when most people think of AR games, they're thinking of the camera being used in the game, which is part of this game. But the other big part that's augmented reality is, like I was saying before, the game uses your GPS to pinpoint your actual location, and it kind of superimposes that onto maps that it gets from Google Maps, and it's like a stylized version of a map, like roads are gray and bodies of water are blue, everything else is green, kind of. And you literally just walk around, you pick an avatar at the beginning of the game, either a male or female avatar. You can change the color of all of their clothes and just kind of set up your username and everything.
Sure.
And then as you walk around the world, the avatar walks around this little map, representation of the real world. And as you walk around, you'll see Pokemon pop up in the world, and you just tap on them, and that takes you to the catching part of the game, where for those who know Pokemon, you have Pokeballs, which are those things that look like the Pepsi logo that are red on top and white on the bottom. And you actually throw them by there's one at the bottom of your screen, and you just swipe it up. And the goal is to kind of bonk the Pokemon in the head. That's the best way to get it. And you can throw curves by kind of twisting the Pokeball before you throw it, and you get extra points for that. And yeah, so you catch Pokemon and you get XP. And I think that's just a quick aside. That's one of the things that's kind of that got me hooked, was those RPG mechanics with actually leveling up your character, like having buffs to your XP and how you can get it. Like catching a new Pokemon gives you more XP. So if you see one on your radar, which is another thing, there was a radar. It's not actually working perfectly right now because they disabled certain parts of it. But it used to tell you if you were within 3 steps, 2 steps, or 1, which is about 90, 60, and 40 meters away from a Pokemon. So you could kind of walk around and tell which direction you were going to go. There's a lot of different strategies for doing that. So yeah, and then, well, I don't want to, Rich, you want to explain like Pokestops and gyms? I don't want to railroad the whole thing. Well, yeah. I mean, I could talk about this game all night, and I'll tell you why I think it's so special, but yeah. Okay.
Well, I'll just talk a little more and go on a little bit more about gameplay. There's really two principal types of gameplay. There's exploring and catching Pokemon, adding them to your Pokedex and, collecting them. And then there's like a combat portion of the game too, right? Which you do at gyms, which are these designated places for combat. I don't really understand the gym, so I'll come back to you. And Floyd, you haven't done the gyms either, have you?
Floyd just messaged me that he got kicked offline and he's going to try and get back on the call in a minute.
Okay.
But the gyms, I was a little bit intimidated by the gyms and how that actually, because as of now, that's the only part of the game where you can interact with other players in the game. And I don't mean in real life. And we're going to talk about like meeting people in real life and the social aspect of it. But in gyms is where you fight your Pokemon against other people who are playing the game, and they have their Pokemon stationed in the gym, and that's each gym is controlled by one of the three teams, which is Team Valor, which is red, Team Mystic, which is blue, and Team Instinct, which is yellow. So when you see the gym on your map, it's one of those three colors,
right.
Unless it's neutral, which means somebody's just took it down and has yet to put a new Pokemon into it. And what I think is what's cool about this is if your team owns the gym, you can still go there and fight and make it more powerful, and they call it training. So you would go fight a Pokemon of a member of your own team, and each level of the gym, I don't know if every single level is 1,000 points, but you level it up, and each fight you win, you'll give the gym points, and every 1,000 points it gains another tier or level. So that's why when you see a gym, sometimes it just has 1 or 2 people in it. Sometimes it'll have 6, and I've heard it goes all the way up to 10. So you can actually have a level 10 gym where if somebody wants to beat your gym, they have to fight 10 Pokemon in a row. And that's where it comes in handy. One of the coolest parts of the game as far as the gyms go is that you can take on the gym with other people. So I was actually...
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, when I heard about it, it was one of those things like, oh, that doesn't sound like it is true. Like, I don't know, it sounded like one of those, like, I'm skeptical of this. Is this just an internet rumor? But so it does work. If you hit go, like there's a button that says go to fight, at the same time as your crew that you're with or whatever. Like I did this with my wife the other night, and we were actually able to take over a gym together.
Wow.
You will go into the fight together. So the Pokemon that you're fighting will attack both of you at once, but at the same time, you're both attacking it at once. So it is a 2-on-1 battle, or I think it's up to 4. So you can do up to 4 against 1. And if you're fighting a Pokemon that's leveled over you actually can fight with up to 6 Pokemon. So you get like 6 lives to get through these gym battles. They make it, I think the play is intentionally skewed to the challenger. I think they want it to be rather easy to take over a gym so that there's a lot of back and forth. Okay. At least that's the way it feels to me.
Okay. Yeah, I did it the other night. My wife and I, we went out to dinner the other night together. My in-laws actually babysat for us and got to go out to a nice dinner. And there was a gym right there at the place where we went for dinner. And we were sitting in the parking lot because we had reservations. We had to wait for a minute. I was like, oh, I'll try it out, while I'm here. And I tried it out. And someone, I don't remember the name of the Pokemon, but somebody had that big bison Pokemon, that's exclusive to North America.
Yeah, Tauros, I think it's called.
Yeah. And I didn't know what I was doing. It was like before the middle of the fight, before I knew that I had to touch it to like attack, Yeah. And I had heard that you could push to the side, and that's how you dodge. But I didn't know when to dodge, and I did okay, but ended up losing that fight. And by the end of that, it was like time to go. So I didn't worry about it. I haven't gotten into that, and I hope to get into that. I always feel like my characters are way too underleveled to even attempt that, and I guess that's what you're saying. Like if you do it in a group, it's more fun, and it allows you to sort of compete or at least enjoy it without thinking you're just going to go in here and get wiped out,
Right, and the other aspect of that is there is a kind of rock paper scissors as far as the types of Pokemon and how they match up against each other. So if you do your matching right, you can actually take out a Pokemon that's a higher combat level, higher CP than yours.
Does that work as far as like lightning might be good against water, or water might be good against fire?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know exactly what the matchups are. Okay. Like I would have to look them up, just being new to Pokemon. But yeah, when you see, I don't know if you saw on the screen when you did your one battle, when it says attack not very effective or attack very effective.
Oh, okay.
So that means you're probably matched against somebody that you are strong against.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it was sort of a quick fight, so I sort of scatterbrained, didn't know what I was doing, and so didn't look for things like that. But I'll keep an eye out next time and give it another shot. So that's really interesting. Makes me look forward to doing that. As you mentioned before, there's there are 3 teams you can join at level 5. There's Valor, Mystic, and Instinct, represented by the 3 primary colors, right? Yellow, blue, and red. It's interesting to me when I pick sides. And I don't know. Did you assume that each side had a sort of special ability, like? With Valor, it mentioned like strength. And then one of the others, it mentioned something about like hatching, like eggs. I remember that, and I thought, well, maybe this side has a little advantage of hatching better things, from eggs or. But I've done some reading online, and they say that color is just that. It's just color. It's not. There's no distinct advantage. For any side, and there aren't any differences. But I don't know how much truth there is in that.
Yeah, I never thought there was, and I certainly didn't think any of that color text was. And I mean color text as in what you read before you choose your team. I thought that was just window dressing to dramatize it a little bit. But yeah, so how did you end up? Now, can we disclose what teams we're on?
Sure.
So I'm on Team Valor, and the story of how I picked Team Valor is really stupid. I was just I was playing the game in my neighborhood.
I bet my reason's stupider.
Oh, I don't know. I was level 4, about to be level 5, and I wasn't like drunk stumbling down the street, but I had had a few drinks, so I was like being more sociable than
Were you playing the guitar?
No, I was not carrying my guitar around. That would be a good challenge, though. Play guitar and Pokemon Go at the same time. But no, and then I was just talking to these 2 girls as they were walking by, and they were like, "What team are you?" And I was like, "I'm not level 5 yet." And the one girl was just like, "You're gonna pick Team Valor," and I was like, "Yeah, sure." And we high-fived each other, and I was like, "Okay, like red team sounds good to me," So, so top that for stupidity.
Let's see, the 3 characters. There was a guy and 2 girls, right? And the Team Valor girl had short hair, which I think is kind of attractive, so that's why I picked it.
Nice. No, that's
it's a dumb reason.
No, that's funny.
And I like
that's
red
good.
too, and it was talking about like strength and stuff like that, and so I was like, okay, this is sort of an aggressive team. I kind of like that, so
Yeah.
But two dumb reasons for picking Valor. But hey, we're both Valor, and we sent a high 5 text about that, so that's good.
Yeah, and it's funny because the teams are kind of taking on this personality. They're all taking on personalities of their own, and when you see, like, you and I picked the teams almost randomly, like a lot of people just like the color or thought one logo looked cooler than another. The logos are based on these bird type Pokemon from the universe, but it's just funny how there's already like these stereotypes about like, oh, Team Valor is just about the turf and Team Mystic is about like I don't know, like taking over gyms, and then Instinct, like they don't really care too much about the gyms. They just want to chase Pokemon. Like it's crazy. Like I don't know if it has. There's probably some kind of psychological principles at work here, as far as even just the colors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think red would be more aggressive, and yellow would be more mellow, and blue kind of in the middle there. But
yeah,
it's really crazy.
That's funny. I was on Reddit today. Just researching about this question, actually, about are there any differences, and actually trying to look at the like you said, the color text that was shown, because just try to revisit that, to see if there was something in that I remember. I mean, I distinctly remember that when I chose, but yeah, you're right. I mean, even on Reddit, I was on the Mystic page. I ended up on there, and it is a big deal. I mean, people choosing which side they're going to be on. It's so funny, that like you said, that there's these sort of like urban whisperings of like what kind of people join each team already.
Exactly. I love it.
Yeah,
it's
it is kind of great. And you're going to start seeing these stickers pop up on people's cars and stuff, team stickers and everything else, shirts. I mean, it's going to be a whole market.
Already out there.
Oh, yeah.
Already.
I saw the stickers after
like,
the first day.
Yep.
But hey, make some money while you can, folks.
Yeah, totally.
You can't blame them for that. As you mentioned before, there's this is sort of a GPS app, which means that it tracks your walking, and that's how you can do certain things in the game, like hatch eggs. It's how you you get closer to Pokemon in order to capture them. You can actually ride a bike, and it will track you if you're riding a bike. But if you go over a certain speed, it will sort of like kick you out. Like if you're driving in a car or something, it will kind of mess up your GPS if you're driving too fast. I've been known to creep through neighborhoods and freak people out and stop in the middle of the road in my neighborhood, not in the middle of a busy highway, But yeah, and I see people doing it all the time. My kids and I were walking through the neighborhood catching Pokemon the other night, and there's this girl like stopped in the middle of the road, and I knew exactly what she was doing, and we just gave each other a smile,
Oh yeah.
So it's pretty funny. But as you mentioned, there's a tracking system, that goes from that was working. I don't know what's going on with that now. I think it's kind of busted. It's been busted for probably 4 or 5 days now.
Right. From what I understand, the developers disabled it to kind of help the server load a little bit. So they did that on purpose.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, but to me that means like hopefully it'll be coming back.
Right. Yeah, I hope so. It was a great feature. It kind of, like you said, it kind of let you know, like if you're getting close to one, the footprints would go down.
Yeah. And
I kind of figured that out on my own and had to show it to some coworkers. They had no idea. They thought it was just random that you ran into Pokemon. It's like no. And if you start going to the right, and then you're down to 2, and it goes back up to 3, then you need to turn left. You need to go the opposite way, start going that way, and if it drops down, you're headed in the right direction. And it's funny, you kind of get this sort of after doing it for a while, you kind of get a keen sense of where something is actually located. I can't describe the feeling. You just know. It's very bizarre.
Yeah, you know what? I still, even when it was working, I was not so much for tracking them down. I don't know why. I just never got into that. I don't think I tried to really use that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it depends on what it was for me. I mean, if it was a new one, yeah. I mean, I had to have it, And it's funny. My kids, we came to this end of the road, this cul-de-sac, and we were one away from like a scyther. And my daughter's like, "Dad, can I go in that yard right there?" I'm like, "No, we're not. No, we're not. We're not doing that." It stops here. This is where it stops. We're not going in those people's property. We're not going to do that. I'm not going to set that kind of example as a parent.
Yeah, no, good on you. Not even as a parent, but as
right.
a player of this game. Like unfortunately, I live in like kind of the suburbs here in Austin. There's not a lot of stuff around me, but I'm fortunate enough that I live right down the block from the park that I mentioned and a a Korean church and a water tower, like all in a row in this one alley. And unfortunately, they put a Pokestop in the middle of the like yard of the church, and the church is gated in, and there's like no trespassing signs and everything. But unfortunately, people just open the gates and go in and walk around on the church grounds, you know, when there's nobody there. And I mean, hey, do what you got to do. But I kind of cringe a little bit when I see that, because that's the kind of thing like, you know, what if the people who run that church call the cops, and then the cops are cruising when we're trying to just play Pokemon and have a good time because of a couple bad eggs, you know, no pun intended. But
a few bad executes.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and mention at this point, we lost Floyd. He dropped out. He's having some computer issues. We've been kind of texting back and forth as we go going. And I hate it because I would like to have some of his perspective, because he's a new player and he's been playing for a few days. And maybe he can record some comments or something for the end of it and give us a little perspective of what's going on, you know, over in Canada. I hate we're losing him, but we shall carry on. So,
sure.
So finding Pokemon, it's sort of it's based, and from what I understand and what I've read, it's based a lot on location. Like, you're going to get certain types of Pokemon, you know, based on what your climate is, where you're at. Like out in the country, as Floyd was mentioning, he lives in the suburbs. I do as well, and sort of out in the country, and Pokemon are much further and far in between out here. Mm-hmm. And I'd see a lot different Pokemon out here than what I see in the city. Some similar, you know, there's some very common ones like Ratas, and what are the birds called? Spearows and Pidgeys. See a lot of those, you know, anywhere you go, and the bats too, Zubats.
Yeah, Zubat. Yeah, and they're a pain to catch too, which makes it even more annoying. So.
I know. But from what I've read, and the way it's set up is that you start catching things, and I should mention that your weather and climate and just the landscape, you're around lakes and oceans and things like that, you're supposed to be able to catch more sort of water-based Pokemon. In hotter areas, you're going to get more of the fire Pokemon, is what I understand. But we've had close to 100-degree days for about 2 weeks now, and I haven't seen any. I haven't been catching any Charmanders, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I would say at this point there's still a lot of speculation about what actually is behind, like where they're showing up, but it is like pretty well established now that you'll find more water-based Pokemon near actual bodies of water. So there's a couple things like that have kind of proven themselves out, but you can definitely, again, by using the internet, talking to people, you can find out, like, there's a state park near where I work, and there have been a lot of great, you know, Pokemon found over there. And there's a place in Austin here called Auditorium Shores that's kind of a park on the river there, and the people call it Charmander Bay, because you just go there and you just find nothing but Charmanders. So
that's awesome, though.
Yeah, all these places are kind of earning reputations for what's being found there. It's kind of awesome.
Pokemon nicknames too. Yeah, my downtown, the downtown where I work, it's just full of Zubats. So I don't know what that says about my downtown. So one of the things that I really like about the game, and I really wanted to mention this, is I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, if there's like a very like rare Pokemon or something and people are around it, or one people don't have, what happens if someone catches it? It just goes away, and this clearly is gonna cause problems. There's gonna be fights, people stealing each other's Pokemon.
Right.
But what they've done is, even after that Pokemon's caught by a player, it stays active for a little while longer. So if it pops up on your radar, you can catch it, and the server actually, after a time, after it's first caught, it will kind of reset over a little bit of time and throw different things out there. But you do have, if you're around it and you're an appropriate level, you can catch it. I was mentioning that we threw out the lure the other day at work, and I caught a is a Snorlax. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I caught a Snorlax, which is a pretty great Pokemon. And I turned to my buddy who had put out the lure, and I said, "Did you catch it?" And he said, "No, I didn't even see it." And the reason is I think he's around level 10 right now, and I'm around 15 or 16.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
So there is a difference there as far as what you can see, and I'm wondering how many Pokemon they're actually going to end up being. How high it's going to go, because the number that I can catch, I think, is around 143 right now, but that number has steadily increased as I've gained levels. I don't know if you've noticed that or not.
Yeah, totally. I started seeing when I got to level actually after level 5, I started seeing stuff besides Rattatas and Pidgeys. And it definitely does scale up. The other thing that scales up as your character levels up, it raises the ceiling for CP, for powering up the Pokemon themselves. And CP is your combat points. That's your strength in battle. And each one has a maximum, basically, but leveling up your character raises that maximum. So you can put more, upgrades of power into each Pokemon.
So what level are you right now?
I am 11.
Okay. I think at 12 you get super Pokeballs, which are balls that give you a better chance to catch. So not only that, you're getting Pokemon that are higher CP levels, but you're also going to be getting better items as well. So
cool.
So you'll get to see that. Have you gotten lucky eggs yet? Have you gotten those, or raspberries?
Yep. I have like 1 million raspberries, and I had 2 lucky eggs. I used one the other night.
Yeah. Those are awesome to use when someone's set up a lure.
Yeah. The other strategy too is if you have like a bunch of trash Pokemon like Rattatas or Pidgeys, set off a lucky egg and just evolve the crap out of all of them, because you get a lot of XP for evolving. So that's another strat to really get the most out of a lucky egg. But yeah, I had one on the other night when I had I was at a local Pokestop that I knew the lure was fresh, because they only last for 30 minutes. So I saw the lure go up, and I said, all right, I'm going for it. Hit the lucky egg, caught a bunch of Pokemon, evolved a bunch of Rattatas into Raticates, and I think I leveled up almost a complete level. Yeah. Just from doing that.
And that's a good strategy, and that, it gives you incentive to catch what I would call like kind of trash Pokemon, which are lower level Pokemon, or very, very common ones you see every day, all the time. It gives you some incentive to actually get those, and so that's good. But we've started sort of talking about the items, so maybe we should go into doing that. And how do you obtain items in this game? There's 2 ways, right?
Sure, yeah. The Pokestops, which are, other than the gyms, those are kind of the main attractions if you're looking for landmarks. When you see people driving around and pulling over, they're probably at a Pokestop. Like I said, this church by my house, whenever I'm out there, there's always people just driving up, pulling over, and then driving away. And I know they're just stocking up on items. And I got to say, one thing I don't want to forget to say, because I want to talk about the microtransactions, is that this game is set up amazingly easy to play without engaging in any of the microtransactions. I actually ran out of Pokeballs the other night for the first time since starting playing the game, and I was like shocked. I did not know what to do, because I've always had like hundreds of them, you know?
Right.
So, well, have you spent any money on the coins in the shop to get items, or have you gotten all your items from Pokestops? Well, and if you don't want to answer, that's fine.
I did.
I put you on the spot.
No, it's okay. I did purchase from the shop. I spent $5. That's all I've spent on the game so far. And what I did was I bought a bag upgrade and a Pokemon upgrade to be able to have more. I haven't needed those things, but I thought, okay, these are just sort of cheap things I can buy and go ahead and get. But what you can do is you can just keep buying those things. You can keep buying bag space and buying it and buying it and buying it and fill it up as much as you want. So that was sort of that was a little bit of a waste. I didn't really need to do that. But you bring up a really good point in that I've noticed something. As you know, I have my phone and I play on my phone at work, and I created my account for my daughter, who's 8, and we play together and she enjoys it as well. But I created it with her name, her avatar, and everything. And I take it to work, and when I'm downtown, I get loads of Pokeballs. I can bring it home, and we can just go hunting, and no problem. I never run out of Pokeballs.
Mm-hmm.
However, my wife, she works in another city downtown, but she's out on maternity leave right now.
Okay.
And so she's at the house, and we set my son up on her phone. Well, as you can imagine, there are no Pokestops out in the country, which
Right.
I think is a real shame, and I think they should add that to the game, do a little bit better job of not making you have to go to the city.
Right, and they've just so you know, they've made it. Niantic has set up a thing on their website where you can request Pokestops. So hopefully that'll get better with time.
Awesome. I would like to have some, just around my neighborhood that my kids can, enjoy the game without me having to spend money. I haven't had to do it yet, but he's really only had. We've only gone out one night where we used her phone for him, and I just. When she starts back to work, she can collect them for him. She did it the other night. We were riding around the other night going out to eat, and I was like, can you get Pokeballs while I drive for, my son? And she was doing it. I think she was kind of enjoying it too. She wouldn't admit it, but I think once she starts working downtown, she's probably going to get a little into it as well. So, but yeah. So you can purchase things from the shop if you run out of Pokeballs. But like you said, the game's really set up so that you really don't have to do that. There's not a lot of spending in the game. There's no ads. So I'm like, how do they make their money?
Yeah. With however many millions of people that are playing, they must be making money on the microtransactions.
Yeah, there must be people buying egg incubators, the people that get really obsessed with the game.
Yeah,
and that
totally.
sort of thing. So they must be making money somehow. So you mentioned the Pokestops. These are just these sort of small, like almost sort of lamppost looking things that have like a glowing Pokeball in it, and you push it, you touch it, and then you spin it with your thumb or your finger to make it spin around, and it drops your items for you. And it's blue when it's active, and then when you use it, it turns pink, and you can go to those every 5 minutes. They reset every 5 minutes for each player. So it's per individual, so you don't have to wait after somebody uses it. You don't have to wait 5 minutes after they use it. It's just 5 minutes after you use it, which is nice. A nice little effect. So you get Pokeballs, you get potions, which are used to heal your Pokemon after fights and gyms. You get revives. I guess your Pokemon gets knocked out or something in the gyms. I don't know.
Yeah,
if you use one of those.
If you play an opposing team, your Pokemon will get knocked out. If you are training and playing against your own team, they don't get knocked out. They just get 0 HP.
Right.
You have to just heal them up.
So that's why I didn't have to use a revive. So I was playing against my own team. That makes sense because the gym was a Valor gym that I was at.
There you go.
There's incense and lures, which both lure Pokemon to you, but incense you can use and walk anywhere, and it will bring Pokemon to you as you walk, even if you're not near a Pokestop. But the lure actually has to attach to a Pokestop, and it throws out sort of like the same thing, like an incense, that you can just stand under that Pokestop and catch Pokemon as they come in with other players, and that's where kind of the social aspect of the game sort of takes off, right?
Yeah, it's kind of amazing that there are lures for Pokemon, but all they do is lure human beings to odd places like water towers and graffiti or whatever. Like,
right.
It's crazy, but yeah, the lures on the Pokestops, they all the items that have cooldowns, they run for a half hour. Mm-hmm. So the other one being the lucky egg, which doubles your XP for a half hour.
Those are nice.
Yeah, so you can do if you do incense or if you do a lure, it runs for half an hour. That's why it's good. Like again, the Pokestops down the street from me, if I'm just sitting on my couch playing the game and I see a lure drop, and you can tell because there's like hearts kind of falling off of it.
Yeah, like leaves falling with their hearts, yeah.
Yeah. If you see it happen, you know you have a half an hour worth of lure to go. If I open the app and saw a lure on, I might not necessarily run out the door to go be by it, but if I saw it activate, I would know I had a half an hour, and I'd probably put my flip-flops on and run down there. So
the other things you get, and you get these at the Pokestops, they're just random, is you get eggs. You can hold up to 9 at one time. And you have an incubator, which is you have one that has an infinite number of uses, and then you can also use microtransactions or get incubators every once in a while as you level up, and those have 3 uses each time. There's 3 types of eggs you can get. There's a 10, a 5, and a 2, and those are basically represented by kilometers. And so if you have an egg in an incubator and you walk, and it's a 10 kilometer egg, you walk 10 kilometers, then that egg hatches. The 10 kilometer eggs tend to have better stuff in them than the 5 and the 2, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's a pretty good way to explain that, which is a cool feature. And again, it's one of those things that I really like because it keeps people from just sitting and putting up lures and, using lucky eggs and just sitting there and doing that and power leveling, which of course a lot of people are doing, but it gives you some incentive to get out and move around as well, which is really nice.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And I, unfortunately, because of all the server issues, I haven't hatched any egg intentionally. Mm-hmm. It's all just happened during natural gameplay and the course of my life and walking around.
Right,
but
right.
I would really love the game to be stable to a point where I could open it up and say, okay, I have a 5K egg and I can run 5K in my sleep. You know what I mean? I would love to have that. Not like incentive, but like a little treat at the end of my run. Like, oh, here's a powerful Pokemon out of this egg,
Yeah. So. It's funny. We were talking today, texting back and forth with some of the guys from the site and the guys with the Collector Cast. And Kelsey, actually, I told him today that we're doing this call. He said, "Oh man, I would love to join you guys." I'm like, "Well, we would love to have you, man. Come on, we're on at 7 tonight. You're welcome to join us." And he had a meeting tonight. He couldn't be on, but he's super excited about it. He's having a great time with the game.
That's awesome.
But Bill hasn't been able to get into it, and Chris, I don't think or Duke hasn't been able to get into it either. And it was funny. Kelsey and I were just going back and forth a lot of Pokemon talk, and Adam as well is enjoying it. And Bill sent me a message. He's like, he's like, not to change the subject, sent me a private message. He's like, but how are you doing with your Fitbit? I got a Fitbit through work, and I've been doing a lot of walking with it. And he's like, how you been doing with your Fitbit, man? I was like, well, I'm getting about 10,000 to 12,000 steps in a day, and I'm doing really well with it. And then, I knew he was trying to get away from the Pokemon conversation, but I was like, but, man, Pokemon Go has really helped this endeavor more. It's made me get out in the heat, during the middle of the day, times that I wouldn't want to be outside because, like I said, the last 2 weeks we've had 90 plus degree weather. But it's really pushed me to get out and to go outside and walk, and using these two things in combination with each other, it's been wonderful for exercise for me. That's one of the things I like the most about it.
No, absolutely. I put on a forum that for both me and my wife, we're so kind of grateful to just have that pull, I just got to get out and walk around and hopefully catch something. And at the very least, I'm going to walk 2 blocks down to that park,
Yeah.
Hit up the gym. It's funny when you say
we're
going to the gym.
Going to the gym.
But in a way, I mean, like you're saying, it's exercise. There's no two ways about it. You have to walk around to play this game,
Yeah. Speaking of exercise, we were discussing I would say that's a very positive effect of this app. I would put it in that category. And when we think about Pokemon Go, and from what people have seen on the news, there's a very positive side to it, and there's a lot of negativity toward it as well. Which, some of it being downright silly, the negativity, but there has been some negativity and understandably from events that have happened. But let's start talk about sort of the positive effects of the app. We mentioned exercise, but I also wanted to mention this is, as we all know, I mean, Nintendo, a company that we love and has been a big part of our lives growing up, has really been hitting hard times with sales. The Wii sold a good bit, but it was sort of a flop, a disaster, and the Wii U. I mean, what do you say, right?
The Wii, Rich, I would say, was not Wii was the most successful.
Flop. It was fairly successful, yeah.
It was a craze. I think sometimes we forget how big it was, and
at the beginning, it was very big. Yeah, there was a craze. Yeah,
but I think the Wii U was more of the hurt that came to Nintendo. But moral of the story is, though, Pokemon Go for the time being has really jump started the company's financials, and you hear a lot of stories about how much the stock went up and people making a lot of money. Yeah.
Should have bought stock in it. Should have bought stock in it after the E3.
Yeah, my wife and I do own stock in Nintendo, and
that's cool.
Yeah, I took a look. We don't have a ton of it, so it's not, we didn't get rich off of this. Sure. But it was kind of that's neat. Like, it's the real world ramifications of a successful thing, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. We mentioned the social aspect of the game, getting out, and you've had some great stories. As far as the social aspect, I've had a few instances where people come up to me, and we would just sit there and talk. Me having really no background, younger, some of the language goes a little over my head, when they start talking about, I caught this, and this. I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but cool, man. I'm glad you're having fun. I'm having a blast too. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I think a lot of the younger people do have the advantage of knowing all the first generation Pokemon. Yes. And, I have many times somebody came up to me and said, "Oh, I caught a so-and-so over there." And I'm like, "Oh, awesome, dude." Like, and I have no idea what they're talking about, so.
but that's okay, and I haven't had anyone thumb their nose at me yet. They'll be, sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, okay, well, what is it? Oh, that's the thing that, looks like that." And I'll be, "Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, I know what that is now,
Right.
It's pretty funny, but everyone's very, it seems everyone I've met is very accepting of my ignorance of Pokemon, and everyone's just out to have a good time, and people be like, "Oh, there's a so-and-so over there, you need to walk that way," or
that happens to me all the time. It's so awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I always do. I have this kind of habit of, if I see a group of people near a lure stop, I say, "Who dropped the lure?" And whoever it was, and I say, "Thank you." And they're usually like, "Yeah, no problem, dude."
That should be a shirt. We should market those shirts. "Who dropped the lure?"
Yeah, but it's cool how it's become like almost like a language where you see somebody walking down the street looking at the phone, you know what they're doing. Yeah. I was telling you guys that I was at work the other day, and there's a Pokestop on either end of the street that my office is on, and I was walking towards one of them, and some lady from the other complex I kind of glanced up at her, and she just said, "Hey, don't mess with my gym." Like, I didn't say anything to her, you know what I mean? Like,
was this playful? Was this a little aggressive, a little passive?
Yeah, no, it was totally like,
all in fun.
With a wink, but it was just like, it's just amazing how it's like, you know exactly what I'm doing, you know where I'm going, you know why I'm going there, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just by my pose and my demeanor. And I had one of the cool things that happened to me was actually the other night. I was out by myself, and I went to the gym at the park by me, and I was just sitting there kind of leveling up. Our team had it, so I was just leveling up, kind of goofing around to pass the time. And this guy came up to me, and I was like, "Oh, are you Team Valor?" And he was like, "Yeah, but my phone just died. I'm gonna go home." And he goes, "I left some free artwork over there on the bench. If you're interested, I'd love for you to take it home." I was like, "All right, cool, thanks, man." So I went over there, and there was this like pre-printed envelope that said like, free art for the taking. Please make it yours, or some kind of nice thing.
Yeah.
So I brought it home. I was out for a while, and I just had this thing under my arm, kind of imagining what it could be, and was hanging out by a lure, and was out for a while. I brought it home, and I opened it with my wife, and it was this local artist. I found out his name's Mike, and he made like these decals. They had nothing to do with Pokemon. They were just decals with little sayings on them. Uh-huh. And there was a really nice necklace that he made in there. It had like a faux leather strap with like a stone with some metal work on it that he had made. And it was just like that's so awesome. And I came to find out, actually a coworker of mine like goes to school with this guy, and he's just a local artist that does that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's really cool, man.
So it's like people, and there's tons of other examples of people like kind of taking advantage of their businesses being either gyms or Pokestops.
Yep, I was gonna say that. That's where I was going next.
I saw in a couple crazy things on YouTube videos. Like there was a gym that was actually some kind of bar or restaurant or something, and they were changing the lighting outside their building to whatever color team was holding the gym at the time.
That's awesome.
And I saw another one where some ice cream parlor was giving discounts, like a deeper discount if you were like Team Valor, or like 10% if you were Mystic or Instinct, or like 15% if you were Valor. I thought that was kind of funny.
That's hilarious, man. I've seen like lures. I've seen businesses who will put the lures out themselves. Like they continually replenish lures during the day.
That is so smart. Like I said, the lures lure people. Yeah. That's what they do. And so that's
one of the places is a coffee shop, and right in front of it, they've got one of those like A-frame signs out on the sidewalk that's got a Pokeball drawn in it, and it says "out hunting. How about getting yourself a nice coffee or water to stay hydrated?" It's pretty cool. I mean, they're embracing it, and hopefully pulling in some business with it, because let's face it, I mean, those lures are like what, $1 a piece. I think it's like 100, and cheaper if you buy them in bulk. So, for business to, spend, $10-20 a day and maybe, earn some, additional business from that, and being a like a Pokemon friendly place, it's a great idea.
The businesses that are lucky enough to have these on them, like that's pretty awesome. And like I said, with the fact that you can request them, I bet you tons of places are requesting their coffee shops to be Pokestops or gyms absolutely. Or whatever. I would if I owned a business like that.
Sure, because you just play the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
Personally, I've been enjoying a lot of family time. My kids and I. The first day that I had this app, I walked over 21,000 steps, which was over 10 miles. The first day I had this app. I go on during my breaks at work. We get 2 15-minute breaks. I walk every day. This is just something I've been doing. And then at lunch, a lot of times I walk. But I came home, and the kids and I probably walked over 3 or 4 miles just on our own, just out hunting one evening, and just had a blast together and spending time with them. I give them the phones, they walk around, I make sure that they don't stop in the middle of the road while they're hunting, and we just have a really good time together. And so that's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
And something that I did want to mention is and it goes along with the social aspect of the game that you were mentioning. I really think that, how do I put it? I feel like this app has come along at a really good time. I'm not saying that, this this is some sort of, it was, set to be some sort of healing mechanism, but with all the crazy stuff that's kind of going on in our country right now, it's nice to see some positivity and people getting along and people talking and interacting with each other.
Yeah.
And and that's what I mean. I'm not saying that this is like the end all be all healer of our country and what's going on. It's nothing close to that. But it's just nice to see all sorts of people, young and old, people of different races, like sharing something that they all enjoy, and talking to each other, and finding some sort of common ground. And it's been really nice, especially with kind of all the stuff that's been going on lately. So
yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, and I think that for me that's that's the other side of the coin, where this game is so special to me for the things we've been talking about on a personal level. Mm-hmm. For me to be able to go out on walks with my wife, mm-hmm. and I said in the forum, like, we had kind of fallen away from physical activity mm-hmm. a little bit, kind of were in a rut, to the point where we would kind of ask each other, hey, you want to go do something, want to go for a walk? And it was always like, no, I don't feel like it, not tonight, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now I'm chasing my wife out the door because she wants to go out to the Pokestops without me. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute.
Can I change clothes first? I just get off work.
Yeah, exactly. Let me get my shoes on. But yeah, the other side of that, though, is the societal thing that's going along with it, and you're right, there's just a lot of troubling things going on in our country right now, in the world. To see people, we talked about the age groups of people that are playing this game, mm-hmm. but I can tell you from being out there and playing it, I've seen people of all races, all colors, mm-hmm. male and female, yep. And even with the age groups we talked about, I've seen elderly people playing this game. Like,
yep.
there's just no boundaries to who can play this game. It's a free app, so long as you have any run-of-the-mill smartphone. It's Apple and Apple and Android, mm-hmm. not Windows Phone. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing. If you have a Windows Phone, you can't play it. But I mean, so long as you have a phone, you can play this game.
Yeah.
And that's added to its ubiquity, but that's also added to, like, just the democratization of a game that shocked everybody with just how amazing it is. And again, just seeing and talking to people from just an amazing diversity of everything, colors and creeds and races and everything.
Yeah.
And it just is kind of proving, for whatever you see on the news, and there are some terrible things going on, you can look at the world around you, and we're all just human beings,
Sure,
and
sure.
Sometimes it takes playing a cell phone game together to realize that. So.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, it's I've seen people, this has just made people happy, and that's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you said, so much is been going on as of recently, especially, and then just to see people happy through all the negativity it's just really nice. It's refreshing. I mean, people just seem so much happier out mm-hmm. and excited about something. I don't know, for a lot of people, say, well, that's stupid, that this is just some little phone app with little characters on it. That's just silly that would make people happy. I mean, I would say to them, I was I was the biggest critic of this, not of this specific game, but of this franchise, and it's brought some happiness to me, and I've enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed seeing other people playing it and interacting with other people, and it's been fantastic. So, if you haven't given it a shot, you've thought about it, but you think you're going to look stupid, guess what? You're not, because everybody's playing it, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And nobody cares.
Yep. So, having said that, let's talk about how this game's ruining the world.
Battery drain. Oh no.
Oh, the battery drain is real, though. I mean,
it is.
And my phone overheats really bad.
Yeah.
I don't know about yours, but if it's a hot day out, especially, one of the one of the days I was at work, and I went with a coworker of mine to the gym down the street, and my phone was overheating, but I was in the middle of catching something really good. So when my phone starts overheating, it dims the screen to cool off the phone. And it was a really bright and sunny day, so I couldn't see the screen. I was trying to catch something. So picture me on the side of the road with my head in my shirt. So my shirt's over my head and my phone underneath the shirt so I could see the screen. Me just standing on the side of the street doing this for like 3 minutes while I tried to catch whatever Pokemon it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, the battery drain is real, like I said, and with mine it overheats.
Yeah, the
so
GPS
much.
sucks a ton of the battery life out of it. The good news is it's a good time to buy stock in people are buying those extra batteries. They can hook up to their phones. It's probably a good time to buy stock in that. If you missed out on the Nintendo stock, buy backup battery stock.
Yeah.
So that is one negative thing, and it's only slightly negative. A lot of the parks and stuff now, it's kind of nice. A lot of the parks around my area actually have plugs, so people are actually bringing their chargers a lot of times.
Okay, that's cool.
So it's kind of nice. Another thing is we had heard in the news, and I don't know. That's kind of the odd thing. There's so many people that dislike this game so much. I wonder like what's real a lot of times in the news and what's urban legend. But I've heard that there's been robberies that people will put up. As you mentioned, these Pokestops can be in some pretty odd places sometimes, and people are putting up They say people are putting up lures to lure people out so that they can rob them. I don't know what the truth is in that, or if that's an urban legend, but one of the things with this game, and even when you on the startup screen, it says be aware of your surroundings. And that doesn't mean just don't walk out in front of a car, which people have done as well. But, know where you're at and what you're doing, and, don't get overzealous, to go catch some rare Pokemon that you're going to put yourself in any type of jeopardy, right?
Right, exactly. And, yeah, I just want to echo what you said about a lot of these stories are fake and have been confirmed to be fake. There was one that came out just a couple of days after the app came out that some guy caused like the worst highway pile up in history because he was chasing a Pikachu. That was immediately confirmed to be false. So there are all kinds of things going out there. I do believe that people have been robbed. I think that there have been verified stories of these robberies taking place, but
and I'm sure there's been traffic accidents as well.
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh, absolutely.
But the other thing, we hear about people finding bodies. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. There could be unsolved crimes out there that are being opened back up. And, if you're the person who found the body, I could see how that could be a little disturbing. But when you have an influx of people outside on their feet and exploring, these kinds of things are going to happen, you know. But yeah, I don't know. You have a couple things in the notes that I'm not even really like. You have potential lawsuits and
yeah.
You're just talking about like private property, like get off my lawn kind of things.
Yeah, people going on the private property. There was there was a story about some kids that were going after Pokemon at like 1 a.m. and trying to get one around a guy's house, and that guy opening fire and shooting them for trespassing on his property, thinking that they were going to rob his house.
Okay.
So there was a story about that. My understanding is that they were injured, they weren't killed, but again, these things are going to happen with stuff like this. I'd put potential lawsuits on here. I kind of feel like we're going to start seeing some litigation that comes out of this at some point. And, whether it be simply, trespassing, or there are some businesses who do not appreciate being set up as gyms or Pokestops, people going into businesses with no intent to purchase anything, but to just go in there and try to catch Pokemon.
I've heard of gyms and stops being in the vicinity of police stations and the police having to make statements like, do not hang around the back of our police station, like
right.
That is very dangerous kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is kind of, and again, I just hope that Niantic can address these kind of things. Like, apparently one of the goofier, it's not goofy, it's like kind of morbid, but there was a gym or a Pokestop at like the National Holocaust Museum in Washington D.C. and they had to tell people like look, don't do this here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
and then there was the infamous Clefairy at the that was running the church gym. So
what is that? Wait, what?
The Clefairy Pokemon. There was a I'm not sure where this is located, but apparently there was one that was running a gym, and the people, the person who owned it had named it Love is Love. And it was running the gym. And from what I understand, and I don't know if this is true or not, but from what I had heard, the church had paid someone to come bring it down and get it out of there.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, I mean, just all types of just kind of silly negativity. I've heard the Pokemon is the devil statement. Anything that draws attention away from certain organizations is clearly evil. So
right.
I'm not going to get into that, but it's it's just people creating. I guess what I'm trying to say is people creating negativity out of something that's just people going out and having fun. Embrace it. Just enjoy it. If you have a church or something like that, promote your church through it.
Right.
Do something positive with it if you want to, but. It's just a shame that the people who have no understanding or don't want to have any understanding of something just want to just tear it down. Something that's making people happy,
Yeah, I think it's true the saying that if somebody's having fun, somebody somewhere wants to put a stop to it. And that just goes in general, like for anything you do that's fun. I happen to like the memes that are going back and forth on the internet, like there was one that was going around that was like, oh, with everything that's going around in the world, I'm too busy. No, what was it? I'm not playing Pokemon Go because I'm not a 10-year-old and I have a job or something. Just very like that. Looking down the nose.
Because I work.
Yeah, and then there was a good response to that was like, I'm too mature to play Pokemon, but I must run to Facebook and post a status about that.
I saw that. Yeah, that's great.
And I think it's just hilarious how that kind of culture is going back and forth. But I mean,
yeah, just the assumption that everyone who's playing Pokemon during the day doesn't have a job or is unemployed and sucking, sucking tax dollars.
Right. And I think as we've demonstrated through this conversation, it's better to play if you do have a job because you need to travel a little bit and move around your environment, and you're likely to work in a more populous area than you live, So it's pretty interesting. Like, and there's a certain air of like, look, like, don't even like get off your high horse, you idiot. Like, you know what I mean? I think the naysayers are losing, to put it one way,
Yeah. 4 billion plus in Nintendo stock. Yeah. Look at the numbers. Maybe you're on the wrong side of history.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a good point. I mean, this is a hugely historical event. I mean, this is the type of thing where they put all the things that happened during the year at the back of your yearbook when you were in school. This would make it, right? Pokemon Go.
Absolutely. I was talking to a friend of mine the other night. We were just kind of trying to think, like, in the video game world, like, what has ever happened that was like this before? And the only thing I can come up with is, like, again, the Wii craze and Wii Sports, when everybody was playing Wii bowling and having parties around it, and
But I think even that craze doesn't match this, because you're talking about
you're
talking about having to spend money on an expensive system.
Yep, and it's in your living room,
free,
just
and
like
everybody has
other
a phone, pretty much.
Yep. No, I agree completely.
Except my 8-year-old daughter, who
like
keeps begging me for one. Ridiculous.
For what?
A cell phone.
Oh, okay.
It's like you're 8. No. But I think that kind of covers like the negativity associated with it. But I think for me, the positive far outweighs the negative.
Oh yeah, totally.
But there have been some bugs with the game, and I think we'd be remiss if we weren't talking about those. I mean, everything, when you have something new, you definitely go through some growing pains, and I do think the app's going through some growing pains. I don't think they were ready for the amount of people that would be interested in this. As we know, Nintendo never is. I'm looking at you, Amiibos.
Right.
And limited edition, 3DSs and whatnot.
Yeah.
But there's been some problems with tracking, which we've already discussed. GPS, sometimes mine will say GPS not found. That usually corrects itself fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I miss up on anything. One of the big problems I've had is capture lockup. When I capture something, when I capture Pokemon, my screen will just freeze and lock up. Are you having that issue?
Yep, that's a very widespread problem.
Yeah.
Again, just being on the internet and talking to people in internet groups, and happens to my wife all the time. It's a very common issue. Now, a lot of people, most of the time for me, anytime it's happened, when I rebooted the game, I actually had the Pokemon that was being caught at the time. But I've talked to people online that they said, nope, I didn't get it. Like I got totally screwed out of it. So
yep,
it's kind of an issue.
Yeah, it's a pain. But a lot of times I have to continually reset. My sound gets knocked out a lot of times by like incoming text notifications and stuff like that. And,
okay. I turned the music off because I thought maybe it would help the battery issue if there wasn't constant sound pumping out of the speaker. So
I wear headphones when I walk, and I like it. I like to be able to hear it.
Okay.
The music's kind of... I like the music of the game, which I should mention. It's kind of like inspirational, kind of driving. It makes you want to walk. I kind of like it. I like to hear it when stuff pops up, and that way I don't have to stare at my phone when I'm walking. I can be aware of my surroundings. But your phone also vibrates when stuff pops up too, so I can hold it in my hand as I'm walking and listening on headphones. But so that's typically what I do for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have to reset. Sometimes stops aren't showing up, or I'm unable to use a stop. I'll go by it and it won't interact. And that's a lot of
times when it resets, it takes like an additional minute for it to actually be able for you to spin it again and get your items.
Yeah. So just some aggravations, some growing pains, and I'm sure that it has a lot to do with all the use. And the millions of people that are using this app that they weren't expecting, and I know they'll get these things worked out. And but to be honest, I mean, has this affected your enjoyment of the app in any way?
I gotta say, from a certain point of view, it has actually. Like the frustration of not being able to get on is starting to get to me sometimes.
Yeah, today was bad.
Today it's been very bad.
Before today, I might have said no.
Right. And I mean, having not been involved with the microtransaction, like I've seen a couple debates where somebody will say like, look, it's a free app, like we can't complain. But first of all, I don't agree with that. Even if it's free, if somebody, provides you with some kind of service, you have every right to speak up if it's not acting as it was intended to. And the other thing is, we talked about the items that you can buy that have cool off periods, like, and if you pop a lure and the site goes down or the servers go down, you're done. You just lost your lure that you might have paid real money for.
Sure.
So that's a real issue. And I wonder how many players they're going to lose because of it.
Yeah.
I was talking to my wife today, and she said she hasn't played seriously in a couple days just because the servers are down so much. I mean, she wants to. She actually she was on earlier before we got on the air today, and I could not get on. So she actually went out without me. But I really hope they can fix this because I think it has so much potential, and they're promising updates that are going to make the game even better. And I mean, the sky's the limit with what they can do to make this app attractive to people. They can add more generations of Pokemon. They're going to add trading that you can just trade with people.
Oh, wow.
I can't wait till they have just head-to-head battling. The only thing, I don't know how they're going to do that without having basically like boosting. Like if you matched up, like if you could just fight wherever you wanted without impunity, you could probably devise a way to boost your XP by fighting against, if I was just to sit there and grind fighting with my wife or a friend or something. I don't know. I feel like that when they have head-to-head, which is something they've talked about, that there will be some kind of like exploits for it. But who knows? That's for them to figure out,
Sure.
But yeah, the crashing issues, and last Saturday they got hacked, and they got DDoSed by some hacker group and taken down for like 3 hours. And that's a problem when you get big like this, that's, you become a target for cyber crimes or whatever you want to say, hacking. And that just kind of stinks. And every time a new country comes online, it's going to crash, so
Yeah.
it's like,
Thanks, Canada.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a really long answer to your question, but as of yet, it has not stopped me from wanting to play and wanting to continue to play and wanting to see how they make it better and what features they're going to add, and I still just want to level up and catch Pokemon,
Yeah. I think there's probably a lot of people out there who are a lot more upset about it than I am, for reasons of, I'm not trying to level up quick. I'm not trying to, take over gyms or, battle. I'm using this as something fun to do while I'm walking and exercising, and that's what it is for me. If it goes down, I'm not going to not go on my walk. You know what I mean? I'm just going to listen to a podcast when I walk instead. So, for someone like me, it's not troubling, but I can understand how it could be for, other people, who have, different views of this,
and there's people who, I mean, we didn't even really get into this when we were talking about the positive effects, but there are people who are like learning to overcome social anxiety by playing this game.
Sure.
There are people who, I've read stories of autistic children who are making social interactions that they've never made before because of this game. And that kind of, if you're in that situation, that could hurt if you can't get on for a full day or whatever. You might regress or whatever. Like, I don't even know. There's some, deeper psychological things that I'm not qualified to, offer my take on. But I've heard anecdotally of people just overcoming social anxiety and stuff like that. So
yeah. Okay. So I've heard this. Several people have commented on this as just being a fad. Do you think this is a fad, or do you think this is something that's going to eventually prosper?
That's a great question, and that's one of the things. Like this podcast is going to be outdated by the time people hear it. You know what I mean? Like the game's only been out for 2 weeks, and every day it's something new, and there's people figuring things out, and there will be new strats tomorrow that haven't been discovered today. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
But it's really fun to speculate about where this is going to go. And is it a bubble? Like, are people just kind of hooked on it now and everybody's going to drop it like a bad habit in a couple weeks? Or will Niantic be able to add features that will keep new users coming on while retaining the users it already has? I hope it's not a fad, and I hope that even if it's not Pokemon, if there's something else, I kind of hope this is a new kind of step forward with gaming and this whole like AR gaming, GPS gaming.
Right.
This developer had a game called Ingress, which they used all their data from Ingress to kind of make the Pokestops and gyms. They took the landmarks from Ingress, and a lot of the data from finding Pokemon, there's a lot of people like kind of investigating Ingress because it turns out there's like a connection between what Pokemon are, where they are, based on the data in Ingress. But I mean, they made that game and it was reasonably popular. I never played it, but I heard a lot about it on some various gaming podcasts over the past couple of years. And, it sounded so fascinating. I just never got into it. Something about it didn't hook me. But this, I don't know what it is, but I hope that it does continue to prosper. I hope it does not just burn out and it's not like, I've heard a lot of people compare it to the game Draw Something. Have you ever played that? Do you remember that one?
Yes.
So that one just burnt out. Nobody's playing Draw Something anymore. So I hope it doesn't happen to Pokemon Go, but it really has the potential, especially if the servers keep crashing, if they can't keep the game stable, if they can't keep it online. Like, that's going to hurt them a lot, I think.
Yeah. And just to follow up with that, just talking about what they're going to have to do to keep it alive. You mentioned some of the new features and things like that that you were reading about, that they were considering, like head-to-head battling editions of, addition of new Pokemon and things like that. I really don't think just adding new Pokemon is going to keep this game going. They're going to have to do something else, besides just the gyms, to keep... Yeah. To have some sort of other interactive feature. I like the idea of trading. That'll be really cool if you're able to do that.
And that has been confirmed as like they're doing that. They're going to roll it out hopefully soon. Yeah. That's not just a rumor or anything. Yeah. So
that'll be really nice.
Well, what do you think? Like, I mean,
do I think it's just a fad?
Yeah.
Right now, I think it is. I think it's not past the point of that. We can judge it as not being a fad, or not something that's going to be a fad. I think right now it's burning so hot, that it seems like it's going to be a fad. I really think that's the direction it's going right now. Like you said, only time will tell if we can label it that, but. All indications from the get-go is that's what's going to happen. I hate to say it.
I was thinking about this a little today, and I thought there will be a time probably in the next couple of months where you're going to see a ton less people walking around, and it's going to be like, oh, you're still playing Pokemon Go? Oh, me too. Like, you want to go fight that gym together? Like, I don't think it's going to be as much of an automatic thing that when you walk past a bunch of people, they're playing Pokemon. I think like life will kind of go back to normal, and we might have to use the connections we've made in real life with people we know are playing the game, and kind of the people who are hardcore about it will just have to kind of stick together and support the game,
Yeah, and that's one thing we haven't found out yet. I mean, is there a level cap? Are they going to raise that? It just depends on how far it goes. I mean, that's what they did sort of with Warcraft, was they, created new dungeons and, kept raising the level cap and sort of degrading everything you had when you were at the top and making better stuff as it went through. If you hear a squeaking noise, it's my dog. She's trying to get my attention. She can hear me in here. She's kind of squeaking outside. But
what's her CP? Is she... Is she a poison type or
she's a fluffy type?
Fluffy type.
I can tell you that she needs a haircut. But I like what you've been saying, and I think one of the great things about this, and the point you really touched on that I liked, was that this is something we haven't seen before, really, to this extent, with this type of new technology and using the cell phone to do something like this. I would like to see other things, and I mentioned this as one of my questions I had written down. What other types of games would you like to see using a similar engine?
Right.
I thought about the other day, and man, if they would have gotten this game out at the beginning of the year, and then they would have used this engine to make a Ghostbusters game right before the movies.
Oh yeah, same.
That would have been killer. Like going around catching ghosts, just
a lot of the same principles.
Yeah, I mean, you could use basically the same engine, maybe a different type of way to manipulate the touch screen, to capture them. But that would be fantastic as well. Just taking different things around the same engine and maybe breathing some life into it, and that might be a way for them to go.
Yeah, I think the developer Niantic is going to have, because from what I understand, they're independent. They're going to have a lot of people knocking on their door for their, talents.
Until Nintendo buys them out.
Yeah, possibly.
That could happen.
Yeah.
And we already, you had mentioned, if we'd already talked about, I had the question, it's just going to make you consider picking up any Pokemon games, and I'd mentioned it. I'm thinking about maybe picking up some of the earlier ones, if they're still available to be found. But how about yourself? You said you've been playing some Black. Are you're enjoying that, and are you gonna pick up some of the older games? Do you think, or are you just gonna stick with the newer ones? You do have your Retron, so.
Yeah, I have the Retron 5, so I can play, any of those handheld games. Yeah, I'm really enjoying Pokemon Black. I must have been mistaken. I thought I once heard that like Pokemon Black was one of the better games in the series, and I wouldn't know any better because I haven't played any other ones, but I've actually looked into it again and found it's kind of like a more divisive game. It was made by I don't want to talk out of turn. I'm not really an expert here, but I think it was made by like the B team of the developers. But I like it, and I'm only like 2 hours into it. I really just wanted to experiment with it and kind of see what the gameplay was like. But I honestly got hooked on it, and I would if a Game Boy or Game Boy Advance game of Pokemon fell into my lap, as soon as I determined whether or not it was a pirate, because Pokemon games, as we know, are some of the most pirated games on the planet.
Absolutely.
I would definitely give it a shot. I know some of the old, or I've heard rather, that some of the older Game Boy games, like the original games, are a little bit slow, a little bit, archaic mechanically.
Yeah, sure. What you would expect from a retro game.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I would love to have more actual Pokemon games in my collection for sure.
Yeah. Cool.
Actually, before we jump in the next topic, I just want to reiterate, like, as we close out this discussion, just that, we're doing this podcast because you and I said, like, this game is changing our lives. It's changing the world. We have to talk about this. And like we just said, in a couple months, it might not be that way. We might not care about Pokemon. We'll say, Pokemon what? Oh, that cell phone game we were all crazy about. Who knows? Who knows where this is going to go? But like at this moment, within 2 weeks of the launch of this game, it is something that is so special that it's kind of hard to put into words. And we've discussed the nuts and bolts of it, and we've talked about the gameplay, everything. And it's just, there's just something about it, man. I don't even know. I don't know. I just want to just reiterate what a special thing this is to me on a personal level, to the world, to society. Like, it kind of can't be overstated. I mean, I just wanted to reiterate that. Like,
it obviously made me do a 180, with my thoughts on, the series, and, had a lot of disdain, going into retro game shops and just hearing people, younger than me just talking about, oh, this Pokemon game, I remember this Pokemon game, this Pokemon, this is the best one, this and that. Just, frustration and disgust has turned into, okay, I get it now. This is something that, was very cherished in, certain people's childhoods that they loved. And, I understand it a lot more now, and it's definitely made me more tolerant of it, and made me to even want to maybe even seek it out. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it is something special, as I've mentioned. I've just one thing I can't reiterate enough is how it came along, and the time it kind of came along. It obviously not on purpose, but it's just nice to see people happy and enjoying themselves, themselves, and being a part of people's happiness and enjoying themselves. Yep. That's special. Whether it be just my kids, or me and my kids, or going downtown and seeing, like, when I took my kids downtown, I sent you some pictures. Took my kids downtown and last Friday night, and we were of about 200 people, like in our Center City Park, like playing. It was amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's so awesome.
Yeah. So, but we're gonna get a little off topic here. I did want to talk. It's a little off topic because we're talking about Nintendo and how their stock is soaring right now, and how it's just a great time for Nintendo, and we're kind of nice to see them come out of the cellar. It's just something, something, a company that's very dear to me, and I would hate to ever, think about it ever going away.
Right.
But they've announced this recently, like within the last week, this NES Mini. Basically, it's a HDMI system, a small version that actually looks like the original Nintendo, that actually has 30 games housed on it. It's going to be selling. I'm not sure when it's coming out, but it's going to be selling for around $60, and seems like a lot of people are excited about this. There's a lot of people excited about this that have kind of surprised me that they're excited about this. I'm not as excited about this as a lot of people are, and a big part of that is I already own the games that are going to come out on it, and a big part of playing these games is, to me, and my thought about it is playing the originals, the things that I cherish from my childhood, and even playing them on a lower grade TV like I played on in my childhood. There's something to be said about that for the nostalgia factor. Playing like games, older Nintendo games with beautiful sprites on my HD TV. I don't know. I'm not into that. But with that said, I think it's a brilliant marketing strategy by Nintendo. I think this is brilliant. And as someone said, this is this type of thing that people are going to be picking up at like their local like drugstore as a Christmas present, last minute Christmas present. Oh, this will be great. I'm going to spend about $50-$60. Oh, this is perfect. I remember they used to have a Nintendo growing up. They'll love this. For the collector, there's a part of this, like for the collector side too. It's cool that this is, because to me this is a glorified plug and play. Let's just be honest.
I agree.
But it is officially licensed by Nintendo, which is kind of cool. And I can understand why people who are collectors would want to have this as a quote unquote console. I don't know if I consider it a console, but I can understand why people would want it.
Yeah, me too. I when I first saw this was announced, and I did see some of our friends who were like drooling over it, and I couldn't understand. I mean, even I'm not a huge NES player, but I have an NES. I have a Retron 5, and I'd like to say I own pretty much every NES game I would want to own. I don't have a huge NES collection, but I just thought, like, why would people like us want this? Mm-hmm. And the other thing too that has me kind of scratching my head is I've debated or whatever, talked to people about not wanting digital copies of games. Mm-hmm. So basically, like what you said, Rich, was right on the money. This is basically a plug and play, and we've seen the Atari flashback consoles mm-hmm. that they've put out over the years,
and television.
Exactly.
They've done Genesis. You can buy it at Bed Bath & Beyond.
Yeah, that's right. So I like you, I think Nintendo is doing what they do best, which is selling you their old games again and again and again. And I've even said on the air, on record, how many times I've bought Super Mario 3 in different iterations and versions of it. So I'm not immune to it. I'm not above it. You know what I mean?
Oh, right.
But I just part of me is just like, I don't get it from the collector's aspect of it. The one thing I do like, the one thing that I think is kind of neat, is that they're using their the controller input is the proprietary jack that's on the bottom of a Wii remote. So you can actually use a Wii Classic controller on this thing. But conversely, what's even cooler is you can use a controller that comes with this thing, which is a recreation original NES controller on your Wii through the Wiimote. So I think that's kind of neat. And you can, supposedly they're reporting you can buy the controller separately. So, I mean, maybe that would be up my alley, but that's, I don't know. It's just weird. I'm not trying to, at first I was like, come on, what is this BS? But I'm trying not to be that way. I'm just like, okay, I'm understanding. If they came out with a miniature PlayStation 2, I would probably want it. So I totally, I totally understand where some people are coming from. Even if you don't quote unquote need it, it's pretty cool, I guess.
Yeah, it is. I think it's cool, and I think that it's kind of an individual thing, how you collect, how you feel about certain things. Like a lot of people who are like, take my money, like Duke from Collector Cast. He's like, oh, take my money. I love it. Big Nintendo fan, loves Nintendo. The fact that this is an officially licensed console, he loves that about it. And I understand that. That's his mentality. He loves everything Nintendo. I mean, he collects any third party Nintendo controller he can find. I mean, that's, I get that, because of that nostalgia he has for it. And he owns all these games, obviously. He's one game away from a complete set. But it's that part of it. And I get that. That it's just that's not, that's I love my Nintendo, but I love other things too. And it's, forking down $60, I wouldn't do that. Though a lot of people complained about the price. I don't really understand that, since most of these games, if you bought these games from the eShop, you're looking at $5 a piece, which is for 30 games, you're looking at $150. You're getting this for $60.
Right, and some of these games, not to mention, if you wanted physical copies of some of these games,
sure, oh my gosh,
you're gonna pay way more than $60. So
I think their choice of games was pretty good. I looked over the list. The one I questioned was Pac-Man. I don't really get that, considering Pac-Man was more of an Atari title.
Not something title people associate with the Nintendo. I agree.
Right, and the omission of Contra is, although Super C's on it, but the omission of Contra is just staggering. I don't know why, if there was some sort of licensing deal they couldn't get Contra, but the omission of that game is just unbelievable. They did put Super C on there. There's, many other great games are on there. Kid Icarus, Metroid,
Castlevania 1 and 2,
Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, your Marios.
Oh, you mean Adventure of Link?
Adventure of Link, not Link. Yeah. Sorry, that's the Super Nintendo game.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, I get it. I think it's a great gift for, that love of your life who's in their like maybe late 30s, early 40s, and you're looking for a good Christmas present that they'll just like freak out about and be like, oh my gosh, I had these games when I was younger, and someone who's not the collector, hasn't been collecting these games. But on the negative side, wow, I feel like the price and ability to collect the originals is just going to go up even further, because people are going to be interested. You can bring more people into the fold of collecting,
Yeah. Do you think it will be some kind of gateway to, I own this thing, now I want to go and get the real thing?
I think so. I think people are going to get nostalgic for that and saying, oh, I would like, to own that now. I mean, I know
Okay.
Duke for one has several Nintendos that he cleans up and stuff, gets ready to sell. I can see that. I think they're running somewhere around $50 right now, $40 to $50 right now for a loose Nintendo. I can definitely see those going up in value. After this is released, I think people will say, oh well, there were some other games that I remember that I liked too, and so maybe I might search out one of these old consoles. I do. I don't know how much of an impact, but I think it'll have some.
That's very interesting. I didn't think about it that way, and I'm not sure I even agree with you, but it's definitely an interesting
I could be
perspective.
Completely wrong
Yeah.
about that, but I think that there will be some people out there who will get the nostalgia bug again for it, and maybe some games that they played growing up and want to play them and revisit,
Yeah, and like you said, I want Nintendo to be successful, quite frankly.
Absolutely.
I want them to sell a gazillion of these things, so, good on them. I hope it's a runaway success.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool, man. I think that's going to bring us to the end here. 2 hours of Pokemon Go.
Yeah, this was, again, these sidecasts are really fun, and to the listeners, we appreciate you checking us out, and we're trying to do something a little different, kind of expand our horizons a little bit, and not just be not that we feel trapped. I was going to say trapped in the playthrough. We love doing those shows.
Absolutely.
But to be able to just kind of casually come on and do something different every once in a while. Hit us up on RF Generation.
Leave some comments. Let us know. Let us know what you think about these sidecasts.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Sean. I appreciate you joining. Hate we lost Floyd, but again, maybe he can either post a little message or something on here about his thoughts about it, or at least give some feedback in the forum. So.
Yep, absolutely. All right, man. It was a good show. Good talking to you.
Absolutely. Take care.